How are you guys doing?
This is kind of a magic sort of thing, right?
I know. I honestly thought about being real cheesy and getting like confetti with glitter, but I hate cleaning, so
I was just going to say, the only problem with that is just how upset people would be that there's glitter everywhere.
Everywhere. I have an 8-year-old, and so glitter's everywhere anyway. I didn't need to bring it to our workspace.
We need magnetic glitter so you can go around with a magnet.
You guys want to invent, if anybody's looking for a new gig, magnetic glitter, that's what we're after. Isn't that called mica? Is mica magnetic?
I think it is, but it's not colorful.
It's not, but I wonder if we could apply color to mica.
We should look into it, because that could change everything. We could glitter everybody and everything and just come out with a magnet. Okay, we got you covered.
I love it. I love it. So, as per usual, our intention is never small.
No. Oh my God, save the world.
We're just here
save
to
yourself.
help. We're just here to help y'all. Like, again,
learn to fly.
Empower your energy, really strengthen your resolve in the world, discern between what is yours and what is others, create that essence of responsibility, self-care, compassion for the world that we're in. And today is no different, but it's really a two-subject, two-landing idea. When we approached how we wanted to create intention, today was really meant to be all about empathy and how to be empathetic in the world with other people that you may or may not relate to, and how we can apply empathy/love to even those we don't understand. And I think politically speaking in our country today, we can say, we really, like, if we're gonna end the divide, we have to find empathy for those we do not understand. Which means that we have to listen to them and we have to feel into what motivates them, really. But we want to clarify the difference between empathy and being an empath, because that seems to be kind of something that needs clarification, I feel.
Yeah, to me it's, I don't know, to me it's a little confusing-ish. I have an idea of what it is, but what an empath is. But I don't, I've never been classified as one. I've never like gone into self-study and talked to others about like, am I an empath or am I not? And I know Willow has.
Yeah.
And I asked her a little while ago to talk more about it to me, and I think it's helpful for her to talk about it to everybody.
So, being an empath, you have a choice. We have a choice with all energies. We have a choice with all of our intuitive abilities. Empathic energy is one of our closest intuitive sort of abilities, is that we take on other people's feelings, or we experience collective energy, or we experience feelings. So you might get goosebumps, or you might walk into a party and feel the vibe and go, whoa, I don't want to be here, or this is going to be a great time. That's sort of that empathic vibe. I'll use, my best friend's name is Debbie, so she'll hate me for this, but I'll use the Debbie Downer sort of thing. We all have worked with somebody who is just that negative Nelly, that Debbie Downer, and it's really easy to empathically go into their vibration. So again, I want you to notice the words that I'm using is vibe and energy. Very different than deciding to, and this is empathy, is deciding to feel in to somebody else's experience. That's a decision. I want to make that very clear. When you are being empathetic, you are deciding energetically to feel into somebody's experience. When you are empathic, oftentimes you are picking up energy. You are picking up vibes. You are picking up feelings. You're not being empathetic to them. You're not choosing to love them. You're not choosing the individual whose feelings you're picking up. You are just like a magnet. And one of the decisions that you have to make as well in this energy, if you're empathic, is that you don't have to be. You can care about people without carrying their energy. So you can care without carrying their energy. You can choose to walk into a party or a big group of people and decide that you're not interested in the emotions or relevancy of the vibe in that space and stay in your own lane, if you will. Now, for True empaths, which are generally speaking quite introverted humans, occasionally an extrovert will have empathic tonality as well, but a true introvert is often empathic, and that's why you're introverted, is that you don't want to go pick up other people's business. So you're going to have to do a lot in terms of the energetic being and body that you're in. One, when you walk into a space, you have to have complete ownership of your body, your energy, your mind. Which means, again, if you're not doing a physical practice regularly, you're not going to know what that means. You need to be in charge of the vehicle with which you walk in with, both mentally, spiritually, and physically, right? When you know that, then you can really make sure that you're not picking up other people's vibes without permission, without you deciding that you want to do that, okay? And so as an introvert, that's something that you can work on. And it is a workout, you guys. It is something that you have to physically do on a daily basis. The second thing that you want to do if you're very empathic, when you get home, you have to clean and clear, whatever that looks like. When I was learning how to do this, I had a gal that just literally said, just imagine yourself flushing a toilet and imagine everybody's energy going out. For me, because I'm very visual, that was very useful and worked. Some people need the salt bath, need to have like a salt scrub and a salt bath and go through a very physical process to eradicate some of the energy. What Nikki's going to take us through today is going to have some sound. Sound is another great way to heal us. I always say pick an anthem, some beautiful, amazing rock anthem that you just can love and can sing all the words to, and rock out when you get home so that you have that energy healing, clearing, and that's just part of your daily bath, if you will, that you take. So that is what an empath is. Today we're going to talk about empathy though. And empathy is the decision to feel in to somebody else's experience, what makes them. And we'll use a couple examples, but one example we were just chatting about was, I personally come from two parents who have backgrounds wherein trauma happened. And when you have a deeply wounded background, it informs how you behave in the world. And as such, their emotional and intellectual intelligence is stunted at that point unless they've done therapy, unless they've done some work around their experiences. They're going to inform everything in their world based on that trauma point and how they coped afterwards. And so I was raised by two people who didn't have therapy because we were raised in the 70s and we didn't have therapy. It was not like a thing that everybody did. And so one could say, I hate my parents, they don't understand me, my parents suck at raising people, they were terrible, mean, awful humans. Or you could say, I have such empathy because my parents survived terrible things growing up and were still able to own a company, raise some children okay, and live a life that they're proud of. And I have such empathy that they didn't get the help that they needed. And I wish they had, but I can still love them because I understand where they came from, what got them to this point, and that they couldn't possibly be more than what they understood already. Does that feel true? Absolutely. Is that a good definition, example? Yeah, I think what came up to me,
For me is there's a fine line possibly between compassion and empathy. And so in our discussion, I know that you can, for me, empathy is something that you actually had the feeling and experience and that you can relate to somebody else because you feel like they are having that feeling and experience. So you can empathize because you know what that feels like. And I know from our discussion that you have had a past where you've had probably feelings similar to ones that they had growing up. So for me, that's empathy. If you didn't have, some of those tough experiences, I think it would be more compassion. You would be making the compassionate choice to just see their past and say, love and, sending them love and kindness and tenderness because they came from a hard place. But I know personally that we all have had, which kind of brings me to my next thing about empathy. I feel like it's important to remember that every human being, this is from my therapy, lots of therapy.
Because guys, therapy, it matters.
Therapy, coaching is great stuff. Every human being experiences the full range of emotions. Anger, grief, happiness, joy, sadness, frustration, you know, shame, all of these things. Our circumstances that give rise to them are different, but we all feel them. You know, somebody on the other side of the room does not have a completely different range of emotions. So,
and I want to just pause because I think I want to say what she just said really clearly. It's what we have in common.
yes, common.
It's what we have in common. And I think that that is the true empathic string or thread, is that often we end in comparison, or we decide, we make a different decision, we decide that they're better than us, that they have more than us, that their pain couldn't possibly reflect in our same variation, so they couldn't possibly know what we're experiencing. But actually, as Nikki so put, all of our emotions, from fear to love, you can continue to list because that's not my strength, but it's our actual commonality. We are all afraid. All afraid. We all desperately want to experience true love. True love from the reflective perspective, from being seen unconditionally and loved unconditionally. We want to be recognized for who we really are. And I feel like when you can uncover people in that regard, when you can see somebody and go, oh, you and I, samesies, different, but same.
Yeah, we all want peace and happiness.
Yeah. We're all after the same thing.
We're just taught, you know, that different things will bring it to us. Or we're conditioned with different beliefs that this, you know, unhelpful beliefs, basically. That this person is an enemy, that this person will keep us from that. And so many different things poses blocks to that we want to grab onto and break down and demonize. So for me, it's been really, as I've grown older and matured and had time to contemplate, and like you said, it's a decision. Empathy is a decision. Yeah. You're actually taking a moment to pause and contemplate somebody else's background.
Yeah.
Or society's background, whatever it is. So that we can find the commonality, and the commonality, which is what brings us back to the ultimate human experience, which ultimately will bring peace, more peace, you know, a higher energetic frequency. Yes. And so I'll give 2 examples. Like, one, you know, as I grew older and there were more terrorist activities that I was seeing. You know, there's been plenty of wars and all that kind of stuff. But as I got older, you know, there's like suicide bombers. You know, I remember that being one of the things that stuck out to me. And it's like, that individual, or those individuals, for whatever reason, grew up with the idea that this group, this society, these individuals were a threat to them and their family and their loved ones, and all, and they cause them pain and grief and all of these things, and they have deep feelings for the people they want to protect. You know, we all just want to protect our loved ones, and we want to be connected, and we want to feel love and peace and joy. And so anything that threatens them, we're going to, you know, could want to demolish, and, you know, like all of those things. So it's like sitting with, yes, this is a horrible thing. They seem like enemies, but they have families. They love, they feel sadness. They all feel sadness. You know, it's so easy for us to look at people who've done horrible things to us or people that we love and make them bad people, when in fact they have all of these same feelings.
Well, and we've been indoctrinated into our belief systems, whether you believe it or not.
We've been indoctrinated into ours.
Whether you believe it or not, Americans have all been indoctrinated. We've all, and what that means, just to put it in English terms, is we've been trained like dogs. We've been trained like dogs to believe the way that we believe, to live the way that we live. There's a reason that every woman on the planet owns the same sandal. Right, you're not and I'm not, but we've done a lot of work to unindoctrinate ourselves, I feel like. But there's so many things when you see a trend roll out in America, that is the indoctrination. If you're choosing to purchase it, if you're choosing to buy it, you've been indoctrinated into it. So the same can be said, and I know terrorism and shopping are quite different,
But it's good to have examples.
But I want you to have that example of how easy it is to manipulate a mind.
Yeah.
If they can manipulate you into buying a shoe, they can certainly manipulate you into being a shoe bomber.
And all of these
it's terrible.
New term. But yes, and analogies are so helpful to everybody, because not everyone is ready to believe that they can find some empathy from somebody who killed somebody they love. You know what I mean? That's hard.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate spiritual practice, which for me, it just kind of brings us all back to things we've talked about in the past weeks, as far as cultivating the ability to be still and tap into our truth, because truth is truth.
Yeah.
It's unaffected by beliefs and doctrines.
Right.
But it takes dedication. It takes dedication to tune into that energy that is uninfluenced.
Because I don't know about you, Nikki. I mean, my experience at this point from a spiritual practice, from a life practice, is that, and something that led me to being a psychic, honestly, was that I only see the love in people. It makes me a terrible psychic, as I say to my clients, because I actually am only looking for the good news. But I only see the love. And it's hard, even when I know that we disagree. My intuition only is looking for that aspect of love inside of them. And then trying to understand what led them. And that's maybe that empathy piece that we're talking about. It's like, we don't have to agree to disagree, but can we agree that everybody's doing their best with the information that they have?
Absolutely. That's
and that they are coming from a place of love, even if it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't seem that way.
And it's kind of what you were talking about to me earlier or in a previous week. It doesn't matter how or why we got to the feeling that we're experiencing. It's the feeling that we're experiencing that is the most important thing.
Right.
So we all will arrive at happiness, peace, joy, grief, sadness, frustration for different reasons, but we all have that same feeling.
Yeah.
And so to empathize with somebody, take a moment, somebody you don't even know, or the most advanced practice, somebody, terrorist, politically, somebody that you're very, feel very opposed to, take a moment and just see imagine what possibly could have created their belief system and their ability to choose these actions and all of that. It's such an important practice for us as human beings. It kind of goes back to responsibility.
Well, it's interesting because as you were saying that, I was thinking back to our video on responsibility and is it your shit, their shit, God's shit? This is really, empathy is their shit. It's all about their shit, but can you find room for it? Can you find love for their stuff?
And how much of your shit is getting in the way of you being able to do that?
Right, because again, the assumption is that they should somehow rearrange their stuff for you. And again, that's when we build up resentment or we try to control a person, is when we start creating assumptive patterns that they should know better. They don't. They, whoever they are in your life, don't know better.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it's a more evolved energetic frequency.
Yeah.
Like it is one that we can choose to be more evolved as human beings.
And I want to be clear because I can hear, so intuitively, even when we're making these videos, you guys, I can hear sometimes people saying, well, this is what I don't understand. So here's what's showing up is you don't have to forgive them for being assholes. You don't have to forgive them. If they did a terrible thing, you don't have to, we're not forgiving the terrorist. We're not forgiving the person that hurt you. We're not forgiving, we can, and that's forgiveness is, I call it the F word because it is fucking hard.
It is fucking hard. That's like extra credit.
Yeah, I call forgiveness the other F word because it's even more advanced than what we're talking about right now, frankly. So you don't have to forgive them. If you're ready, you'll be ready. You'll know when it's time to forgive. But you can't start forgiving until you take responsibility for what your role was, and you can't start forgiving until you have empathy for where they came from. Okay?
So wise.
You don't have to forgive them. You can hold on to that anger as long as you need it. I always say God gave us two hands, one to hang on to what we're not ready to let go of, and one to be open to receive the change and the truth that's coming. Okay? So you get two hands. You don't have to let go yet if you're not ready to. And I know that's hard, because as we're talking about empathy, I'm sure some of you are thinking about an ex-husband or an ex-spouse like unit, or somebody who's harmed or hurt you as we're talking about this. So you can have empathy, and all that means is that, again, you're deciding to kind of go into their experience. You're deciding to feel into what made them into the human that they became, or into the experience that you had with them. Because in most cases, unless they are true sociopathic, unless they are true like narcissist sociopath, in most cases, people don't wake up wanting to do harm. Most people, majority, like we're talking big fucking majority of people, don't wake up trying to do harm. If they do harm, it's because they are reacting to their own pain and circumstance.
Survival, circumstance, protection.
Yeah.
You know, it gets back to basic kind of like
Yes.
more root level stuff,
Yeah.
you know, like protecting themselves and their families and stuff.
That's right.
One thing I want to say in the heels of your analogy of one hand holding on and one being open is also, so as we practice empathy, and, you know, where people come from and all of that, and that we all experience the same emotions, knowing too that everybody is given lessons and experiences in their own time.
That's right.
So, you know, we are, and some of it, you know, we can actually affect change by, you know, learning and practicing and getting guidance and help in evolving personally, spiritually, whatever.
Yeah.
But we're all on different paths. So different people are either forced to or choose to let go at different speeds.
Yeah.
So you can't
There's
judge
no
somebody for not
judgment.
being ready
Right.
or having learned this lesson because they haven't been forced to or chosen to yet.
That's
so that's a huge one too.
I agree.
You know, we're all on paths.
And that's, I mean, we're never given time, I feel like, in America to grieve.
Yeah, it's always on to
To
the next
feel sadness, to feel anger. Anger's real. And I don't think we're given permission enough to be angry. So if you have to hang on, you hang on, and that's okay. But I'll tell you what, if I told you you had to hang on to that for 5 years, you would let go of it sooner. Because we always like to beat the odds.
Ooh, that's a good little coaching tool.
We always want to beat the
Challenge.
odds. Like if I tell you it's going to take you 5 years to make $1 million, you'll make it in 3.
I like
So
that a lot.
we want to be healed faster. So just notice that in yourself as well, is that you can hang on as long as you want to. But if somebody tells you that you have to hang on to it for 5 years, you will figure out a way to get rid of it. Okay?
I'm going to bring in one suggestion. You brought
Yeah.
up a book last time when we were talking
Yes.
about compassion.
Yeah.
I want to suggest a book. No, I'm sorry, a movie. It might be based on a book. Called The Best of Enemies.
I've not heard of it. Great.
It is, I want to say it's Samuel Rockwell.
Yeah, he's so cute.
And beautiful, beautiful woman, big eyes, black woman, I forget her name. She plays a role of a community organizer in the South.
Okay.
And this was, she was in some great movies. This was, I forget the year, but I'm guessing it was 80s.
And again, the name of it was?
Best of Enemies.
Best of Enemies. Okay.
And so it's this amazing community organizer. There was a situation with the school that burned down, and they had to figure out where to. It was still at a time of segregation, so maybe it was 70s. Maybe it was, it's probably not 80s. It's probably like 60s. I'm gonna go do all my history courses again.
Right.
But still segregation, but not totally law, more like choice at this point. So they could choose to integrate, but they were choosing not to. School burned down. They had to decide what to do with kids, and there was a lot of resistance to integration, and the Ku Klux Klan was involved down there too, and there was the Grand Wizard, and then there was this community organizer, and this incredible individual from New York, because things were different up, in different parts of the world, was brought in to mediate and create an environment of conversation, because they couldn't make a law. Right. The governor could not enforce a law because it was unconstitutional to, make that choice. So he's like, I see you've done amazing things. Come do those here. Come try and find a solution for us. Long story short, and whatever, I'm going to spoil it, I don't care, because it's so amazing. You should just watch it anyway. the Grand Wizard and the community leader were forced to sit down at a table. They ended up becoming best of friends.
Yeah.
True story.
Because we see the humanity.
Once you sit down and talk to somebody over periods of time, they became best of friends. He ended up, leaving the Ku Klux Klan name, shunned, all that kind of stuff. And it was such an inspiring, amazing story. And it just comes from sitting and taking the time to get to know somebody, see their background, and find commonality in human experience.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yes.
I recommend it.
Yes. What's our movement today?
Our movement is actually a vibration. Yeah, our movement is going to be an experience. It's going to be vibrational movement. Okay. It's a chant. It's awesome. One of my favorites. My yoga practice, although I do a lot of physical yoga practice, my yoga practice of choice, is bhakti yoga. It's devotional yoga, so it's chanting. Mm-hmm. And I learned that just through just kind of a interesting event that was like, wow, this has a more profound on me energetically than just taking a physical yoga class. So chanting, and Willow could attest to this, is really powerful in unlocking and cutting cords and
making room and energy.
Yeah, it's so powerful. So there's a chant called the Lokaha Chant. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Translates to, this is Sanskrit. These words are not specifically translated this way, but this is how I learned it was translated to. May all beings be happy and free, and may my own thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that happiness and freedom. And so, it has nothing to do with God, it has nothing to do with, you don't have to feel like you're doing any sort of religious sort of chant. It's just Sanskrit words. They're ancient and they're powerful. And I want to do them together.
I love you guys. All right, so we'll move on to that. Thanks, you guys.
Oh yeah, so here we go. We're going to do a chanting practice. So this can be new for a lot of you, and that is fine, and it's great. You can always just silently chant internally. Chanting for me was something that I experienced, and I felt the energetic effects, and I couldn't deny that it was powerful, so I just kept doing it, despite my mental kind of resistance to it. So if you're open to it, just let everything go, and it's a call and response. So Willow's going to be the responder. I will say the first, and then together we'll say it. I'll say the second, together we'll say it. And I'll do that for 2 rounds, 1 word at a time. And then as best we can, we're going to take 3 together. All right, and if you forget, I'm going to be doing it slow enough where you can just kind of come in. Okay, so remember, this chant is about compassion and empathy and connection to everyone, all of humanity, all living things actually. It's the Lokaha Chant. So Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. And maybe we'll put that up. May all beings be happy, may all beings be free, and may my own thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that happiness and freedom. Sit however you're comfortable. This is how I sit. I sit on a block. Close your eyes if that feels okay. Keep them open if you need to. And it doesn't matter how you sound. This is not singing in a competitive or need to sound great way. This is more about the vibration of the body. So follow along with me. Lokaha, Lokaha, Samastaha, Samastaha, Sukhino, Sukhino, Bhavantu, Bhavantu. Again, Lokaha, Lokaha, Samastaha, Samastaha, Sukhino, Sukhino, Bhavantu, Bhavantu. One more time, call and response. Lokaha, Lokaha, Samastaha, Samastaha, Sukhino, Bhavantu. As your best, do it with me. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. 2 more times. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Last one. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Just sit with that for a moment. Maybe it's going to repeat itself in your own mind. Allow for that. Feel the vibrations, the residual effects. Notice where they're most prevalent. And then hands to your heart, however you'd like to hold them. Tuning into the translation of that chant, may all beings be happy, may all beings be free, and may my own thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that happiness and freedom. Deep breath in, let it go. Hands in prayer, third eye, bowing forward.
In honor of the divine light that shines within each and every one of us, namaste. Namaste.
And I will say that that chant is available in many places. So you can Google the Lokaha Chant, L-O-K-A-H-A, and you'll see it everywhere. Lots of recordings of it. It's great.
So, we want to make sure that you're staying in empathy and not having the empathic sort of energy taking over your personal narrative. So in terms of clearing and cleaning your energy, as you just learned with Nikki, the chanting is going to help really adjust your vibration. Yeah? And clean and clear. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I think it's just that. I mean, sound and vibration it's huge, it's powerful. I mean, there's a reason that there's a lot of, Buddhist, I don't know what you would call them, sects or whatever, are based fully in chanting. So it's a powerful, energetic shift.
Yeah. And for those of you who are new to this idea and chanting feels like different, 1, do it in your car when nobody's in your car. That's how I rock and roll on that one. 2, you can't just choose a mantra or choose an anthem of music that you can sing along with, because it's about really putting your voice to the task and feeling the vibration of noise coming out of your body. And then as well, the music and sound around you clears and changes the energy and the vibration as well. So if you're choosing an anthem, recommend a positive one, peeps. Something Kelly Clarkson-ish. Just kidding. Whatever you want. I just had to go there. Miss Independence. But something that's going to raise and lift your vibes, not something that's going to lower your vibes, right? So that's going to help shift that.
And taking a moment to, come back to what it translates to.
Right. For you. Yeah. Okay. What's our number 2?
The number 2 was this is a challenge. Well, and also I do want you to, before we end, talk about how you can enter spaces with being protected.
Yeah, okay, great.
With this practice, I'll take a moment to do an advanced challenge practice, which is to bring to mind an individual that is really challenging for you to sit with the thought of or physical presence of. Bring that person to mind and actually make the choice, take the time to consider the circumstances that brought that person there, or just know that, think about the feelings that person may be experiencing that is giving rise to their actions, and the fact that you have those feelings too, and what your actions are in the world.
Right. Find one thing in common.
Yeah,
Even
one thing in common.
One thing in
One.
common.
That's a great.
Yeah. Just to chill it.
Because you said, great, we're going to talk about how to clear energy.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have like a tip for when you're entering a space, how to keep keep yourself protected.
I mean, I'm gonna really make this simple, peeps, because I feel like everything gets overcomplicated in energy and spiritualism, and I just don't think it's that hard. It's your shit, not their shit, period. So when you enter into a space, make sure you are in your energetic body, okay? Whatever that means. So for some of you though, a little tip or tool, cut out a sponge, an actual literal sponge, not the one with the Brillo side, just a proper sponge. Cut it out into a heart and stick it in your bra or stick it in your t-shirt and allow that to be the thing that absorbs all the energy instead of you. Okay, so that's number one. A lot of people like rocks, but I'm like, how's a rock gonna pick up my energy? I like a sponge because our egos are tricky and our ego will decide whether or not something works. So a sponge is a great way. As well, just again, physically make sure you are in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. When you are present with yourself, it's real hard for things to stick to you. Another one that's really big and effective in terms of walking into space is if your vibes are high. And what I mean by that is if you are feeling joy, happiness, fun, excitement, pleasure, all bad vibes are frankly allergic to good shit. Bad vibes hate happiness. They just hate it. So if you are somebody who vacillates energetically between high and low, and you are somebody who struggles in the arena of depression or bipolar, no judgment here, I just want to speak to you. It's super extra important for you to notice your vibes. You're going to be more likely on a low swing to pick up other people's energy. It's just because it's hard to be in your body in the low. It's hard to be present when you're in the low. So that's when I'm like, you might want to join doTERRA or Young Living. Load yourself up on some oils, put that sponge in your bra. Make sure that you are making an outward, concerted effort to be very physical about your experience of protective energy. And the reason for that, again, is that the ego will do its job as well as the spirit, okay? But we're really using the ego as the protector and not the spirit as a protector. The spirit's always going to protect us. Our intuition's always going to protect us. But when we do these extracurricular things, it's just added layers and benefit for our ego to not accidentally pick up negative juice.
Well, I love that. I love the sponge.
Yeah.
I want to do that with the sponge.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, I want to give a little plug actually to my friend, who is also an intuitive.
Yeah.
And just very sensitive and has really figured out and practiced ways to stay in her energy. And she has a line of chakra sprays and a line of protective aromatherapy.
Send me the link, we'll put it out here for this.
And she's constantly smells amazing, and I generally smell amazing because I'm always spraying her stuff on me too. But it is a very conscious practice of hers to always have this sort of like auric, essential oil field.
It helps two things. I mean, one, oils are very high vibey, as are stones, rocks, crystals, that sort of thing. They are very high vibey. They can be very protective. But the goal is to get the ego on board. If I'm totally honest,
it's got to be intention behind it.
It's got to have intention, but your ego has to be invested as well. Otherwise,
it's a ritual.
It just won't work.
It's a little ritual before you do anything.
Yeah.
Rituals we should have a whole session on rituals.
We can do.
It's very cool.
Next week. How about that, guys?
Cool.
Awesome. We had a third thing.
No, I mean, I
is that good? Oh, watch the movie. Watch the movie.
The sound, and
what was the name of the movie again?
Best of Enemies.
Best of Enemies. Okay, that's it. Happy Magic Monday.
Happy Magic Monday.
I hope you guys have an awesome week. We'll see you next week. Bye.